Pell Grant is money the government provides for students who need it to pay for college. Grants, unlike loans, do not have to be repaid. Eligible students receive a specified amount each year under this program. We talked to Joy LaRue, the Scholarship Programs Manager at the State Board of Education.
Okay, so our first question is, why is federal student financial aid so important to Idaho students?
Well, federal student aid is important because it helps reduce loan debt for Idaho students. And a lot of Idaho students are actually what's called first-generation college students, which means they're the first ones going to school in their families.
Yeah.
And a lot of our students also are at or below the poverty line. And so Pell Grants are very important as far as being able to help students go to school without taking on loan debt, because the average loan debt right now for an Idaho student when they graduate, it's about $28,000, give or take a few hundred. And that's a lot to start a career with. I mean, student loan debt is a little bit easier to deal with than credit card debt, in that you can defer payments and all of that, but still the interest accrues on that. So your $28,000 can turn into $60,000 really quick.
Yeah.
So Pell Grants help kind of offset a lot of that.
And then, who benefits most from the federal Pell Grants?
I'd say the people who benefit most, I'd say, are the really low income students, the ones who are pretty much either right at the poverty line or below, because they have what's called a zero EFC. EFC is your estimated family contributions, the number that's generated from the FAFSA. And those students are the ones who qualify for the most Pell Grant. And depending on what school you're going to, it can pay for tuition and even some books. Now, NNU or College of Idaho, it's just going to pay for a portion, but if you're going to CWI or CSI, it's going to pay for quite a bit.
Yeah. And then, do Pell Grants help students avoid student debt?
They can. It just depends on what school you're going to. When I was working at College of Western Idaho, I saw students who could use Pell Grant, and then that's all they needed. Other schools, students may have to take out student loans to help offset the cost if they don't have any other resources for school.
Then, how did cuts last year in Pell Grants affect Idaho students?
It really didn't. They had cuts to the Pell Grant program, but they still left amounts alone. They're able to cut the Pell Grant program, but still find other sources to keep it going. So the only way that Pell Grant would be affected is if they change the formula to the EFC, and that's the part I don't know much about. But where maybe less students qualify for Pell, but I feel like from when I first started in financial aid 10 years ago that more students are qualifying than ever before.
What impact would additional cuts have?
I was just actually reading an article this morning where they were planning on making a cut, but they, again, were going to take funding from other sources, so amounts to students would not be affected.
And then, are federal student loans a good option for Idaho students?
They can be, if there's no other option, if they haven't gotten any other scholarships, and if they're used in moderation. I think what some students try to use loans for are to buy a lot of things that maybe they don't need, so if they use them as minimally as possible and take out only what they need to cover direct student costs, loans can be a better option, because I have seen students put school expenses on credit cards, which is definitely the last possible thing you should do. So.
In order to qualify for Pell Grants, you must have a diploma or GED. You must complete FAFSA, be a U.S. citizen, and be an undergraduate student who has not earned a bachelor's degree.
When the Pell Grant program began in the early 1970s, its central focus was providing financial assistance to help low-income students access higher education. In its first year, the program provided aid to 176,000 students. Since then, Pell has grown dramatically. Today, more than 9 million students are Pell Grant recipients.
Two-thirds of full-time students receive financial aid. The goal rate is only 52%, which is a drop from 2012's 54%. More than a year after graduating, only 52% of the class of 2013 have enrolled in 2- or 4-year colleges.
Pell Grants help undergraduate students in Idaho go on to college and further their education.
Without Pell Grants, Idaho's go-on rate would be even lower.